Hey guys, I'm a Dimension Jump, and today I'll be doing my top 5 least favourite mini bosses in video games. Now, as of a few weeks ago, either a week or so ago, roughly, I made a video talking about some of my favourite mini bosses in video games, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about some of my least favourite mini bosses in video games. And I think when it comes to mini bosses, they have to be memorable. The fight has to be engaging, that sort of thing, and all about fun and stuff like that. And there are games, there are the mini bosses, especially the ones I'm going to be talking about, that I'm not a huge fan of, especially when it comes to how they're done and stuff like that, and when it comes to like how to fight them, that sort of thing. So yeah. So for number 5 is the Giant Eye Plant and Massive Eye from Phantom Hourglass. Now these are pretty much the same sort of boss, but they have different ways of fighting them, because Giant's Eye Plant is basically a giant plant, and Massive Eye is basically this massive whale monster, and they can be both found in various parts of Phantom Hourglass. Giant's Eye can be found twice. I think once at an island where you have to go to get to the Temple of Courage. Another time at Banana Island, I believe, is the island where the mermaid character is, as well as the not Castaway. I would say as well as the other guy. I don't 100% remember his name at the moment. The only thing that I remember about that island is that there's a mermaid, or a fake mermaid on the island. So yeah, and then with Massive Eye, it's next to the Goron Island, where you have to find one of the 3 metals to forge the sword to defeat Bellum. And they're pretty much the same sort of boss fight, but with different with a different way of fighting them, because in order to do any damage to them, you have to use your cannon to hit their eyes. With Giant Eye Plant is just its main eye on the top of its head, whilst with Massive Eye, it's the 6 eyes, 3 on each of its side of its body, and you have to move your boat from one side to the other to try and avoid both of its attacks. And yeah, it's very repetitive, and it's just very boring, and plus they're not really memorable when compared to the other bosses in Phantom Hourglass, because with Giant Eye Plant and Massive Eye, they're just there and they're kind of forgotten about, whereas with the main bosses, I kind of remember them, because you've got the giant octopus, Octorok, in the Wind Temple. You've got the crab in the Temple of Courage, and you've also got Bellum, who is like the final boss of the game, and that's really cool. So yeah, Giant Eye Plant and Massive Eye, not really memorable bosses or mini bosses in Phantom Hourglass or in the Zelda series as a whole. For number 4 are all of the Okumura robot assistants, I would say, in Persona 5 as well as Royal. And so with this one, because of where it is in the game, it's shown that through Okumura's cognition, that he views all the employees as robots, and when you go through them, you can see that he worked them literally kind of like to their breaking point, where they went into when they can't work anymore, and then he disposes of them, and you can see that throughout the whole of the palace. And when it comes to the mini bosses, they're all basically the same except for like their weaknesses, because some robots are weak to fire, others are weak to lightning, psychokinesis, wind, that sort of thing. And yeah, when it comes to like before fighting the main boss of the palace, it's just mini boss of robots, and it's I think the way you do fight them is like, in terms of where you are, it's kind of interesting, because you fight one big subordinate robot with with some of their minions, in order to find an identity card, in order to gain up to another level, and then you fight another group of them, a lot more smaller ones, later on when you're, I believe it was on a factory conveyor belt area-ish, roughly. I'm not 100% remember, it has been a while since I've played Persona 5 Royal, and I think there are other ones here and there, but as I said before, it has been a while since I have played the game. And yeah, it's, even though they all have different designs, they do still feel the same of just attacking each of them individually and trying to take one out. The only saving grace I would say for them is probably that it is the enhanced version in Persona 5 Royal, in which you can just baton pass everything, and then you can just do an all-out attack. Or if you've got Izanagi no Akami Picaro, which is a DLC Persona, which you can use to basically just clean sweep all of them and make it 100 times more easier. But yeah, overall, the robot assistants in Okumu's Palace they're not really fun, and if you fought the boss, you can see that it's the same. You don't even fight Okumu at the end. He's down in like 2 hits. So yeah. For number 3 is Louise from Crash 4 Bandicoot, or Crash Bandicoot 4, I should say. And with this mini boss, for this one you can find it on the jet board section, or one of the jet board levels in the swamp area. And I would say this boss is a unique boss, because this is one of the only bosses that's not Embryo, Engine, or Cortex that you fight in the game, or Entropy. And this is the totally a new boss. It's kind of like if you go through like the first Crash game and you fight like any of those bosses for the first time. So yeah, but with Louise, you have to fight Louise on the jet board, and those controls are so sensitive. Like, because if you want to make sure that Louise takes damage, you have to make sure that one of her tentacles hits an explosive barrel, or I believe either an explosive barrel or one of the enemies that you find around the mini boss arena. And the controls are quite sensitive, because if you press like the accelerate button, Crash will just go straight forwards like so quickly, and you have to like make sure you have to like turn one way or the other to make sure you not only avoid the enemies but also Louise's tentacles, and then you won't take damage, and then you have to restart the whole boss again. And yeah, I'd say overall, interesting boss or mini boss. It's the only new boss fight that isn't a boss from previous games. So, but the controls are really sensitive, and I think it's one of those mini bosses that you have to really, really be patient with and take several tries to try and at least get a rhythm in when it comes to that boss. So yeah. For number 2 is the Mandibug stack from Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. Now with this fight, it's not really a fight. It's more just, I just do a ground pound and you win. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll probably put a clip of this fight, as soon as I finish this sentence. Yeah, it's just 2 Mandibugs, one big one, one small one, and the only challenging challenging in big quotation marks, is that the larger Mandibug goes slightly faster. So yeah, and that's not even really much of a challenge. It's just it's easy enough to dodge. All you need to do is just jump up and just do a ground pound, and that's it. There's no real thought to it. Maybe if you could summon like other smaller Mandibugs, maybe after you defeated the first Mandibug, maybe, so it can be a bit more of a challenge. I don't know. It's not really much of a challenge, really. So yeah. And for number 1 is all of the trolls in God of War 2018. Now with these fights, they do have a bit of a palette swap with each one. There's like, I believe, a few regular ones. There's like a fire one, and I think 2 to 3 ice ones. But overall, each fight is the same. All you need to do is just avoid each of the trolls' massive barrier pillar things, and then you just need to hit them a couple of times until they're down. The two of the most unique ones, I would say, is the one in Helheim, because it can teleport all over the place, and it can cause shockwaves, and the ones you fight a few hours after that in Tyr's Temple, when you have to fight 2 of them at the same time, the fire and ice ones. And yeah, those are, I would say, the 2 unique ones because of how close they are together. But overall, the trolls are still basic. You still need to try and avoid each of their attacks, and they feel they kind of like blend together. And I do like how in Ragnarok, the game after the 2018 game, there is a troll fight, but it's over in like 5 seconds and you don't really get to fight it. And I think that's supposed to be a humorous scene from the developers because of how annoying these enemies were to fight in the 2018 game. So yeah, so that's been my video for my top 5 least favourite mini bosses in video games. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.